Hello and welcome to our webinar about how marketing teams can remain effective during the COVID-19 crisis. I'm Helen Walters, Marketing Lead at Distinction, and I'm joined today by our Strategy Lead Henry France and Greg Simpson from Press for Attention. With life not as we know it, as marketeers, it's pretty difficult to know what to focus on right now. But whilst these are uncertain and worrying times, it's comforting to see brands pulling together to help however they can. So, Distinction and Press for Attention have teamed up to talk about how to improve your web and media presence so that when we inevitably come out of the other side, the groundwork will have been done. And you'll be on the front foot when it comes to marketing in recovery. So, without further ado, it's over to Henry.
Thank you, Helen, for that kind introduction. It's clear that business as usual cannot continue. Even if you're unaffected by COVID-19 right now, it's likely that you will be at some point down the line. It will affect your business directly or indirectly. So now's a good time to stop, reassess and prioritize where effort is best spent. Whilst physical and mental well-being is clearly the most important factor here, businesses must come to terms with this new reality quickly. And as the majority of people get comfortable in their new / old surroundings, there is a certain amount of inevitability about what happens next. And I see this breaking down into 3 distinct stages. The help, what do we do now? Adaptation to life online, and finally recovery and back to what might be the new normal. For the next few weeks and possibly months, the headlines will be dominated by the pandemic. Its effect on industries that will see a boom, the food and grocery delivery, remote working software and video game markets, and a downturn for almost all others, whilst I feel particularly for the retail, leisure and travel sectors, given I have a background in all of them. Markets are terrified, cautious and anxious. Added to this, an economic downturn that has been predicted since August last year, and some economists even predicting the weakest growth outside recession since the Second World War only back in December. Add COVID-19 on top of this and doom and gloom would reign supreme, it would seem. There will be the first hit, and I think we're already a couple of weeks into seeing that. A downturn in sales for most, which will lead to the inevitable marketing budget cut, which in turn will lead to a further sales slump. It's a double hit in that sense, but only if we lean into it by thinking we're doing the right thing in pausing or cutting our marketing spend. We need to arrest the slide by putting in recovery strategies now. For those companies that can be more agile and able to adapt quicker, these changes will be easier than those that are unable to do much and have to sit and wait this out. Stage 2 is our adaptation to life online. We all have a new normal to adapt to. Some will find it a lot easier than others that perhaps are used to working from home, but the transition to being online will be steep. But within a few weeks, most people will be used to working from home, homeschooling, shopping, or socializing online. Whilst marketing budgets are cut, online spend should increase. We're already seeing big traffic increases across the web. The American content delivery network, Akima, is reporting a 50% increase in web traffic. There's 20 to 50% increases in Reddit and subreddit traffic. No surprise that SEMrush are reporting Amazon is hugely up, but so are alternatives, particularly in fashion. OnBuy in the UK and French menswear site Celia are reporting unprecedented increases in traffic. Social networks could also largely benefit, with 3/4 of the UK and 70% of North American marketers predicting a huge increase in social media activity. Esports will get a huge new following, with sports fans turning to video gaming for entertainment, which could be the major pivotal point for the industry. We have already seen this weekend just gone, over 5 million people tuning in to watch a virtual Grand National on Saturday lunchtime. In this new temporary world, there are opportunities online to put your brand in front of people. And as people start to buy non-essential items as well as their essential items online, brands will need to move quickly while staying true to their vision and values. Now is not the time for a misjudged hard sell that is overtly trying to take advantage of this unprecedented crisis. Brands must put their customer needs first and adjust their messaging accordingly, because they will be judged on how they react during this time, and irreparable damage could be done to their reputation once we come out the other side. I think it was M&S during the Second World War turned their factories into producing rations, which lots of people took note of and stood them in really good stead over the next couple of decades when M&S was struggling. People remembered that time during a crisis. We've already witnessed the enormous backlash to Sports Director's CEO Mike Ashley and his ill-judged response to COVID-19 by keeping his stores and the people that work on the front line in his stores in grave danger. Brands that adapt their strategy, budgets and resources accordingly to react to customer behavior online and serve them even better will be the ones that end up thriving after the inevitable recession. You're likely to have some extra time on your hands at the moment, time that may not come now, but will do in the coming weeks. This time should be used as effectively as possible. These are two really good books that I'd encourage to give to your teams to read, as they promote and encourage you to attack the day, make lists, and generally get shit done. All of those things that you've been putting off because you've prioritized billing or business critical events and general business as usual, you can iron out and attack now. We all know that ticking off your to-do list is incredibly rewarding, as Sarah Knight and Brian Tracy have been preaching for years. And I've put together a list of a few of the things that your marketing teams could be doing during this time. But firstly is to stop writing about COVID-19. It has been done a lot over the last few weeks, and a word from our CEO articles is just ridiculous. Nobody cares. Unless you're a global health or economist expert, then you really have no business on putting your slant on how COVID-19 is going to affect us all. There is more to marketing than just promotion. There are plenty of examples of brands focusing on the other P's at this point to provide additional value to their customers, not just promotion. Did you get to the end of last year or the start of this year and believe you had plenty of time to finalize your strategies? Did that time come and go and you're left with half-baked ideas and business as usual continue to dominate your days? You're not alone. That is very common, but even if you did get to that point and complete your strategies and have started implementing them, you need to revisit them now. Reassess your marketing tactics you've planned in to deliver your business goals. Your marketing activities, inclusive of review strategies, video, SEO, content, email, social, all need to be readdressed for the short, medium and long term. In truth, the short term, anywhere, depending on what you read, and from a few weeks to the next 9 months, is going to be very tactical. This should be viewed as a strategic time out, as Mark Ritson put it, in which you have time to reassess what it is you're going to be doing in 2021 when the recession hits. It must be seen as an opportunity to plan accordingly. Do your marketing admin, and by that I mean, do you have an inbound marketing process nailed down, or an agreed way of doing marketing during a campaign? What about a content or social calendar? This is a great opportunity to work on and roll out your internal marketing processes. Write them down, revise them and flesh them out so they're crystal clear for all. It will have long-term benefits on how effectively and how efficiently your marketing team runs. New starters should onboard quicker, and you can guarantee quality of work through unified approaches. Evaluate your imagery and language, please. Avoid visuals of crowds or people touching each other. Refrain from marketing language that describes close interaction. Adjust your marketing campaigns and schedule content timelines. Decide what you should pause immediately and consider what to prioritize and pivot. Highlight how your brand can help. Communicate your benefits. Does your product give people things to do at home? Does it help people do their jobs without face-to-face interaction? Clarify your brand's potential unique value in this cultural moment and share it. Create helpful content. Even if your product doesn't directly help folks during the quarantine, your brand can still help provide value to people. How can you educate, entertain, or even inspire people that are stuck at home all day? If you've been putting off creating videos, now might be the perfect time to work out how video can best work for you. Start off, in my opinion, with interviewing staff and customers. They're the easiest videos to shoot and edit and can be done remotely. Good videos will not only give you a new medium and open up new channels to you, but should provide you with content that will last a long time and can be cut up and reused into other formats like social media, short posts, white papers, testimonials, case studies, blog posts, LinkedIn articles, etc., etc. Target different types of SERPs or search engine results outside of your regular optimization. Have you ever wanted one of those rich snippets? Or how about an index video or image? Of course, you should be working on the long-term SEO goals around topics you want to be clearly identified as experts on by Google or Bing. But now could be a time to work on those parts of SEO that have lived on the periphery of your strategy that will become more critical as search engines become more sophisticated and look to provide a user with the most relevant answer to their query, however that answer is provided. The link at the bottom there from searchenginejournal.com is a really good article around some basic SEO love that you can show your site. Without looking, how many of you know how many of those easy to win, quick to fix things that your website is needed forever? Metadata that's too long or too short, alt tags on images, page speed, broken links, missing resources, typos, etc. All of these things seem to get pushed to the bottom of lists, and getting them done means that you're putting your site into the position of complete strength, and it will help both users and search engines alike. COVID-19 has given brands a rare opportunity to show their human side, leadership and generosity. There's a sense of community and a realization of the true impact of this situation is having, which has caused some wonderful responses. And some I want to highlight here. Loom have halved their rates, so there's no excuse for not getting good at video now. Moz Academy is free until the 31st of May, so you can get your SEO team up to scratch with the great resources there from one of the world's most renowned SEO companies. Audible has made hundreds and hundreds of kids' books free. LinkedIn has opened up 16 of their courses for free. They're courses that help you stay productive or build relationships, or using virtual meeting tools and balancing family and work dynamics in a healthy way. We use Zoom and Microsoft Teams at distinction, but for external and internal comms, Jam is offering their software for free for the foreseeable future. You can record videos or live calls with your teams, and it integrates really nicely with Slack. Do you want to supercharge your pay-per-click efforts? Our friends over at AdZoomer are offering their platform for free until the 1st of June. And finally, one of my favorite filmmakers, Gary Hustwit, is streaming all of his documentaries for free worldwide, one of them per week. It's a really good one for your creative teams. With a global recession now all but a certainty, how can we hope to recover effectively as businesses and people after what will surely be viewed as one of the great disasters of our time? In all honesty, I don't know the answer to that question, and I'm not going to sit here preaching that we all need to go out and spend like we did before. I'm not an economist, nor an expert on global geopolitical ramifications that COVID-19 seems to be causing. But I do remember the financial crash of 2008. I remember the mass panic, the long-lasting effects, and businesses that went under. I remember the distinct media coverage that painted the bleakest of pictures and shared the stories of utter depression. However, we're still here, and as the world recovered over the last decade from the 2008 recession, it will do so again. We will emerge and adapt, even thrive, once this crisis has passed. History tells us that we will go back to how it was before, shortly after the recession ends. Yes, customer habits change over time, but all these articles about how things will change forever is just nonsense. If you cast your mind back to 1995, when BSE, or British mad cow disease, caused 70% of British people to say that they would never buy British beef again. That took roughly less than a year to return to pre-BSE sales figures. As a marketer and someone that wants the best for my peers and my clients that I work with, I really want to see effort put into really good marketing, great messaging that is tone appropriate and smart targeting. Now more than ever, we need to keep calm and carry on, as that old British mantra goes. Be more flexible and fluid with our marketing, and I'm convinced businesses that survive will come out the other side even stronger. There's a fine line between wanting to show our human side and opportunism. In these early weeks, it's not appropriate to target new prospects with cold emails, as Sandals did in the middle there, unless you 100% believe that they were expecting it. You must balance keeping it as much as business as usual whilst reassessing tactics for each situation you find yourself in. Be positive, but don't be ignorant. COVID-19 will pass, and when it does and the dust is settled, make sure you look back at the decisions you've made without regret. You may get some decisions wrong, but action will mean you did your best to at least make the best effort to serve your clients, save your staff and your business. Don't forget to check in your team. Their well-being is far more important than their output right now. Work on a plan A, but make sure you have B and C ready to go. Back to you, Helen.
Thank you, Henry. It's now time to introduce our guest, Greg Simpson of Press for Attention. Greg is a former business journalist with over 15 years experience in public relations and is the author of the Small Business Guide to PR. He's worked across all industries from startups to FTSE 100 companies and is an Enterprise Nation champion, regularly visiting 10 Downing Street to represent local business interests to the Small Business Minister. And in 2019, he was named as one of the top 5 PR advisors in the UK. Greg, it's over to you.
Well, thank you for that, Helen. That's a wonderful introduction, most kind of you. And thank you, Henry, for such fantastic advice. There's some really good things to take into account and to consider there, especially around images and around messaging. What we're going to try to do is work out how we get more people to pay attention and take action. And as we go through this, I want people to be thinking in terms of relationships. Good PR campaigns are built on solid media relations, and all the way through, I want you to be thinking win-win and how can I be useful. In order to do that, first things first, well, we need to take stock. Have a look around the business, the virtual business as it is right now, and speak to your colleagues. Think about what assets you currently have in terms of the media and your media campaigns to date. What are your current relationships with journalists? Are they warm, hot, cold, ice cold, frozen? Have they been mothballed? Is it something you've normally outsourced and you're now going to bring in-house? Take the time to have a little look about where they are right now and then work out what it is you can do to make them better. Have a look at what you've got in terms of case studies and testimonials. And crucially, I want you to make sure they are absolutely approved for use in the media. Many's the story that has been foundering on the rocks because a journalist has got very keen on the story, the PR person's got keen, the client's got keen, only to find that the case study that's going to really add some colour to it isn't technically signed off. Make sure it is, make sure you have all the belts and braces sorted out there. Similarly, have a look at the visuals you've got on your website and around the business on your files and your storage solutions. But think of what's in terms of what is useful to the media. So not just your brands, your logos, and all that sort of stuff. Think about infographics that you might have that might be useful outside of the business. Obviously, you've also looked at things like headshots of the CEO, key members of staff, and also what data do you have on your market and your company that, again, might be handy for the media that you can share with confidence you know it's going to show off your business or your organization in the best possible light. When you've had a little look at this, decide then, from this knowledge base, what you actually want to do with it. Are you wanting to launch something? Do you want to relaunch something that maybe didn't quite get out the blocks last time? Do you want to re-establish connections or relationships? Start connections or relationships in the media? Make it really specific, because we know this. And Henry did mention Brian Tracy earlier, who I had the pleasure to actually interview a few years back. If you make things specific, you can measure them and you can work out the results from them. So make it specific. Go for the names and the titles of the key media that's going to make a difference. Think in terms of what your customers actually consume here, not just what looks great on the wall or in reception or your virtual reception as it will be now. Think of the stuff that has a role, absolutely, and it is great for employee morale, which is very important right now, great for awards, but focus on the things that will increase leads and sales. This done, I want you to stop. Stop, take a step back and reevaluate. Given what you now know, what you have, what you don't have, work on creating these assets that I'll start to walk through now very briefly, and opportunities, and think about how you can improve things one step at a time. This list I'm going to come up to you now is not exhaustive. You don't have to do all of these things, but if you combine them all together, it's very powerful and will ensure that whatever you do when you want to turn the media tap on, whatever you do is going to perform far better. So first thing I want you to consider, especially as we're on a call with Distinction, who are experts on this side of the business, is do you have a newsroom? Do you actually have an area on your website that is dedicated to the press? Not something that the press can stumble upon on your contact us page or your about us page. I'm talking about something that, as a busy journalist, I can find in your navigation bar instantly. It can be on your blog, that's absolutely fine, but it must be absolutely clear who to contact and how within the organization. So on that newsroom, it can be laid out as beautifully as you want and should appear in your style of branding, absolutely. But here's the key things you absolutely must include. Photos of your key staff, your MD, your CEO, and there's a little matrix here we've got on the screen. Must have, should have, won't have, and could have. But photos of your MD, CEO. Think about links to previous coverage you might have got that will impress your target media or your audience. And if you can, rather than just slavishly copy the headline, try to use an image that links to it to improve visibility. It might even link to a blog on the coverage you achieved and reflections on the interview with the media outlet, or go straight out to the content itself. And I know Distinction will have views on that, and it's how well it can perform as part of your wider SEO strategy. It's also a really handy thing to have in the newsroom some milestones or company data. When was it established? Is there a market value? Could you give me maybe a number of employees, not to the nth degree, but within 10 or 100, depending on the size of your business? Just make it really, really easy for a reporter to grasp if you're right for them in an instant. We have very short attention spans in the press. Although I'm now a reformed character and I've moved to the dark side in PR, trust me, I know the kind of timelines these people are working to and the pressures they are under. Also, if you can, it's not essential, but if you can, try to have something in there that makes you stand out. It might be your mission, your vision, that sort of stuff, but don't make it too vague. Make it a real reason for a reporter to think, I've got to get hold of these people. So you might want to be the first XYZ to do whatever it is. You might want to be the only company that is committed to XYZ. There'll be something that you have that makes someone go, need to speak to those people as opposed to these people. And it's this that can give you the edge above your competition. In fact, it's this along with relationships, and that's the key thing. So around the newsroom as well, I want you to sort of now really, well, get stalking, which is probably the first of my 7 tips I want you to think about. And this might sound a little bit creepy, but in an online world, it's really, really helpful to have all this information at our fingertips. So get stalking, and by that I mean research your key media and who is writing for them. You can here subscribe to a database. Lots of PR agencies use a wide variety of these or a combination of them. You can too, if you're doing it in-house. Just a little word of warning, it can get a little pricey if you're just working for one organization. If you have different brands that you're working on and you have teams in those brands, maybe it's more appropriate for you. But for now, I would just concentrate on using Google, use LinkedIn, and crucially, use Twitter. Most journalists I can think of, they are on Twitter. It's the most active area, and it's where they actually share quite a few little opportunities that you can react to and get involved with, which I'll come on to shortly. And also make sure you've got Google News set up. I'm sure you have, but make sure that it's there for your business, your competitors, and also your key market issues, really, so you can see what it is the media is talking about, and you can consider, can I add value to that? Can I get involved? Once you've done your stalking, follow. But please, please, please resist the urge to pitch and sell, especially as soon as you get start following someone. You want to be looking to build a relationship here, as I said before. You're making friends. It's like walking to a party and saying, hello, everybody, straight away before you've been introduced. I want you to follow and share the stories, but crucially, add value if you can. Don't just blindly retweet thinking that you're doing the journalist a favor. There's lots of people who are doing that. If you can, retweet it, but give context, show your opinion within that retweet. Show that journalists and your followers that, hey, we get this, we have something to say, but you're not yet trying to pitch any kind of story or any kind of angle, unless, of course, the journalist reaches out to you and you can very positively and very publicly say that you want to be involved and you'll be dropping them a direct message. That's the way to do this. There is a great little tip I'll give you on Twitter, but do use it wisely, because it can get a little bit addictive. It's called journo request, hashtag journo request, and there is a shot of it up on the screen at the moment, taken this morning just before the webinar call. This is where journalists reach out to the public and to the followers to try to get a bit of expert insights, crowdsourcing, if you like, of comments and opinions and know-how and expertise. Word of warning on that, it can get a little overwhelming, so try to set it up and just make sure that it's in maybe a stream on your social media dashboard. Don't slavishly try to reply to everything, and don't promise anything on there publicly, certainly, unless you can absolutely deliver on it, because it's going to be seen. Better to find a way to be absolutely sure you can follow up on that and then establish contact directly. There's a difference between reactive and proactive PR. What I want you to get used to right now is getting the reactive stuff ready. So you know the opportunities in the people, your spokespeople, you know who the journalists are, you know your target audience. What we want to do is prepare a plan for how you react when that perfect opportunity does arise. When you've seen something on Journo Request, or you've seen something on LinkedIn, or you've seen something on Google News Alerts that your target media is talking about. Let's see what you have to do then. Well, really, big tip, define who is your spokesperson and, crucially, who is in reserve. It really doesn't work to just have one spokesperson. People get ill, people get busy, people get distracted, and people actually, let's face it, we're human, people get nervous. Have a spokesperson defined and who's in reserve. Agree when they will be available, in theory, to reply to media requests, to correct media requests. And you know what? If they won't work on a weekend, it's absolutely fine. You're under no obligation to provide journalistic comments unless you're under an investigation by the media. Just don't promise a reporter that you can help if really, if you're honest, you can't and you're just trying to get involved. Make sure you can follow through. Henry mentioned earlier about checking through some of the photos and images you have to make sure that they're not insensitive considering the current crisis. It's a great point, Henry. I love that. Also have images on there of your key staff and your products, but make sure they're easy to access either directly via download on your website, or if they have to be requested via you, which isn't ideal from a journalistic point of view, but if they do have to be requested via you, make sure you're not faffing around trying to locate them. You've got them on an email somewhere, one of your colleagues has got some, this one's low resolution, maybe this one's got the right branding on, this one's too old, this one's got a poppy on. Make sure they are the absolutely approved images that you want to be out there in the public at any stage. It's very important to get that sorted so when the reporter needs them, they can get them now. Again, the attention span is very small. So you're ready to be reactive, you can actually get more proactive. The thing is, the blend, think win-win. How can you help a reporter to write a really great story that both boosts them in terms of their awareness, their readership, their clicks, their reputation, and boost your business? They're going to thank you with coverage and awareness, and your customers and your prospects will thank you with leads and sales. It really is that simple. But think win-win. You don't have to do all of these tips. They are helpful pointers, but if you do combine them all, you'll have a far more powerful proposition. And if you to work in-house or even via an agency or a consultant, you'll find they will thank you hugely if you've done this groundwork. It stands you in very good stead. And one final point I want you to consider, because it's not for now, considering how hard this will be to deliver, but think about investing in media training for your key spokespeople. It's not essential, but it does help people with confidence in speaking to the media. It's understandably people are very nervous, and honestly, most of the time, journalists, reporters have absolutely no intention of causing you any trouble. It's the casual reference made by someone that didn't maybe come out correctly, that's scrambled and a little bit off message, or maybe gets the wrong message over or gives people the wrong idea. But really, the best thing about the media training, as I said, it's that confidence of someone to step up and say, right, no, I feel confident. If we've got a 4-hour notice period to get this interview over to this journalist, we can do that. So in future, consider media training. It doesn't have to be vastly expensive. It's just one to think about. I hope that's been useful. I will be available via Distinction for any tips and tricks or further questions you might have, and anything else you need a little bit of follow-up, a bit more detail on, just reach out to Henry and Helen. In the meantime, I hope that's been useful to you, and best of luck with it all. Cheers.
Thank you, Greg, and thanks to Henry too. These are tough times for many of us, and we'd love to help you. So if there's anything covered here that you'd like some advice on, please do get in touch with Henry, Greg, or me. Our contact details are on the screen. It's completely free of charge during the COVID-19 crisis. We're all in this together. Thanks for watching, and stay safe.